والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا محمدا عبد الله ورسوله اللهم افتح علينا فتوح العارفين ووفقنا توفيق الصالحين وانفعنا اللهم بالقرآن والذكر الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا من فضلك علما وتعليما يقربنا منك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت يا حي يا قيوم تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا سهلا اللهم أعزنا من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا وأصلح لنا شأننا كله لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين آمين آمين أما بعد. My dear respected brothers and sisters, my dear Murids, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of God Almighty, Allah SWT, be with each and every one of you. And once again, welcome to our program. I want to share some reflections on Surah Al-Fil as part of the Seerah studies. Yesterday we talked about some issues relating to the birth of the Prophet ﷺ and some of the miracles associated with his birth, and we'll continue to do that. Now, the year of his birth was a special year for the people of Mecca. There is an important incident that took place in that year. So the Prophet ﷺ, his date of birth is described as he was born on Monday, the 12th of rubble in the year of the elephant. So the year of the elephant is the year in which he was born, and it refers to an incident, an important event which took place in that year. And as we mentioned yesterday, there wasn't a dating system or a calendar system as month in the year, days of the month, and so on. Things would be dated based on events. And so that's why it's described in this way. It was later on that Islam introduced, after the Hijrah, and specifically in the time of Sayyiduna Abdul Muttalib, that he introduced the Hijri dating system, the Islamic calendar that we still use today, which is perhaps the most accurate calendars. 354 days in the year, 12 months in a year, and a month is either 29 or 30 days, usually alternating. The Gregorian calendar that countries in the Western world follow is not as accurate as the Islamic calendar, and so every 4 years there's a leap year, and so 1 day is added to February, so it's 29 days in the leap year, to compensate for the accumulative, the mistake that occurs every year when it's 365 and a quarter days each year, and so that's compensated every 4 years to add that additional year. Not so in the Islamic calendar. And the farmer's almanac that tradition is used in many of these societies is based on the same cycle as the Islamic calendar. The Islamic calendar is based on the lunar cycle, and the farmer's almanac is based on the lunar cycle. The Gregorian almanac is based on the solar cycle, which is not as accurate as the lunar cycle. So this event that I want to share some reflections with you today, inshallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Fil talks about this event which took place in the year of the birth of the Prophet. So I wanted to share some reflections on this to give us an idea of events which took place at that time, as we now discuss the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Previous to that, we talked about his parents, Sayyiduna Abdullah and Sayyidina Amina, radiallahu anhum alayhi salam, and their marriage and so on. So Allah SWT says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil, Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil, wa arsala alayhim tayran ababil, tarmihim bihijaratin min sijil, faj'alahum ka'asfin ma'kul. Are you not aware how your Lord dealt with the people of the elephant? Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Do you not see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Lord, dealt with the companions of the elephant, the people of the elephant? Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. Did he not utterly confound their treacherous plan? They plan to destroy the camel. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroy their planning and destroy them as well. And send against them flocks of birds. وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِيلٍ, which pelted them with stones of sand and clay. Sijil. This term refers to the stone that made from sand and clay. And thus he made them like stalks of devoured leaves. فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَعَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. Stalks of devoured leaves. If an insect is devouring a leaf, how they would leave it with holes everywhere. That is how the attack of the birds on them left that army of thousands of soldiers. It was a massive army that was brought. So Allah SWT has mentioned this too, and I wanted to share some historical background on this event which took place, because it has many wonderful lessons for us. There was the king or governor Abraha in Yemen. Now he was from Abyssinia, and we mentioned earlier about Abyssinia and about the king of Abyssinia and Najashi, King Negus. So King Negus sent his governor Abraha to Yemen. He was the head of the army that was sent to Yemen. And before then, Persia controlled Yemen. And Abraha got rid of them, defeated them in battle, and so he took over Yemen. The Abyssinians were ruling Yemen at that time. It's amazing how the pendulum swing in the affairs of life of people and nations. When we talk about Sayyidina Bilal in Mecca, he was at the lowest level in the society, the lowest rung of the social ladder, because he was an Abyssinian slave. In the time of the Prophet ﷺ, because even among slaves, there were ranks. And the Abyssinian slave was the worst of them, the one who was treated the worst way. But the Abyssinians were rulers before. They ruled Yemen, and the Yemeni tribes were Arabs. So this is the historical context now. Abraha was there, and he noticed that all the Arabs were going to Mecca to pay homage to the Kaaba. This is, even though they were idol worshippers, they still believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But they associated partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They had idols for everything. At the Kaaba, they had idols around the Kaaba for all different things and so on. And because they did not follow the injunction, the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because in those previous years, those who followed the guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would follow what is called ad-din al-hanif. Ad-din al-hanif, the pure way of Sayyiduna Ibrahim alayhi salam. But there were very few and far between. Most of the people were steeped in paganism. So Abraha saw that they were going to the Kaaba, and the Kaaba is just a simple structure. Doesn't look fancy and so on. So he built a church, a beautiful, huge building, church made of marble. Amazing structure, with the idea that people would go to his house of worship instead of going to Mecca to visit the Kaaba. But after he built it, he noticed that people would not go there, because now this tradition of the pre-Islamic Arabs is that they've been doing this for generations. For generations they've been going to Mecca, to pay homage to Mecca, to the Kaaba. That's the symbol that was greatest in their minds and in their psyche or thinking. So then he said he would destroy the Kaaba, so that no one would go to Mecca. They would be forced now to go to his church to pay homage and worship there. And so he set out with a huge army. So a huge army of soldiers. Some historical records put it at more than 60,000 soldiers. In those days, that was a huge army. More than people had ever seen. And he said he was going to destroy the Kaaba. And he also had elephants in the army. And this is why it's called the Army of Elephants. And the incident, the Year of Elephant. There was a big elephant there, the leader of the elephants. And these are fighting elephants. And his name was Mahmoud. It's amazing, the name of the elephant. Because later on we'll see about the naming of the Prophet ﷺ. So this Arab, and the Arab leaders in Yemen were now concerned when they heard that the Abyssinian governor, leader of Yemen, is going to destroy the Kaaba. So there was one from the nobleman of the royal family of Yemen called Dhu Nafar, who's an Arab. So he called his people and those who would support him to fight against Abraha. So they did, but it was a small force. And the army of Dhu Nafar was defeated, and he was taken as a prisoner. Then Abraha continued, and on the way now, some other groups of Arabs and Arab tribes came together to try to fight against him and stop him. Natal ibn Habib al-Khathami was the lead of this second attempt to stop Abraha and his army. But again, his army is so big, so powerful, so strong, he defeated them. Then Natal was captured, the second leader, and he agreed to be a guide for them, to show them the way to Mecca. They arrived at the city of Taif. When they arrived there, the leaders of the city of Taif, these are all Arab tribes as well, they went to meet Abraha. And they said that this is not a place you want. This is Taif, it's not Mecca. Mecca is another city that we'll show you how to get to Mecca. And so they asked him not to destroy their house, their idol. They had a huge idol there, Allat it's called. And Allah SWT mentions it in the Qur'an, that they were worshipping the idols, Allat. So they wanted to protect their house of worship or their idol, Allat. And so Abraha continued towards Mecca. He reached a place called Muhammas, a valley between Taif and Mecca, on the way to Mecca. And there they camped. They stayed there, and Abraha sent some of his commanders in the army to go and scout about Mecca and see what's happening there and so on. And while they were doing that, they captured 200 camels belonging to Abdul Muttalib, the chief of Mecca. And they stole those 200 camels, took it back to Muhammas as the name of the place where they stopped. Of course, since before this, the news has reached Mecca already that Abraha is coming with a huge army to attack Mecca and destroy the Kaaba. So the different Arab clans in Mecca and around Mecca, Quraysh, Kinana, Hudayl, and other smaller Arab tribes, they gathered together to form an army, all their forces together, all their fighters, to form an army to defend the Kaaba and to attack Abraha. But then when they looked at what the people there gathered, it was a small army, nothing comparing with Abraha's army, and they knew they could not defeat Abraha. So they did not proceed to fight him. And then Abraha sent a representative to Mecca, saying that he wants to speak to the chief of Mecca, who's Abdul Muttalib, to tell them that we did not come to kill the people of Mecca or to fight the people of Mecca. We just came to destroy the Kaaba. That if they would leave Mecca, he wouldn't kill them, he wouldn't fight them. And Abraha also ordered his representatives that went to bring the chief to him if they didn't want to fight him. If they wanted to fight, then the chief wouldn't come and he would attack Mecca and the people would kill them. So the messenger came and told Abdul Muttalib this. He came to Mecca, the representative of Abraha. And Abdul Muttalib, by that time, he knew that they could not fight Abraha. He too powerful an army. He knew that they stole his camel, 200 camels. And so he went with the representatives of Abraha to meet Abraha at Muhammas, where they were camped out. When Ibn Ishaq and Ibn Hisham, the sources that we're referring to in the Seerah, he said that Abdul Muttalib was a very handsome person. He is the leader of Mecca, the chief. He is handsome, he's well-spoken, he's intelligent, he carries himself well with good adab. So when Abraha saw him, he is impressed. And he was on his elevated couch as a king. Abdul Muttalib is sitting on the carpet below him. And he actually came down. Ibn Ishaq says that Abraha came down. He didn't want to sit down on the almost like a throne, the elevated couch. And Abdul Muttalib is sitting down on the ground. So he came down and sat on the ground next to him on the carpet. How much he respected him. And so he's speaking to him through his interpreter. He asked Abdul Muttalib, Abraha asked Abdul Muttalib, what do you want? I'll grant you one wish. I'll grant you one wish. Now, Now, some may think that Abdul Muttalib should ask about the people of Mecca, don't kill them, don't destroy Mecca, the city, or leave the Kaaba alone and so on. Now, Abraha came all the way from Yemen. If they wishes to leave the Kaaba alone, he's not accepting that, because that's what he came for, to destroy the Kaaba. Abdul Muttalib, surprisingly, he said, I want you to give me back my 200 camels that your soldiers stole from me. Abraha is surprised. He said, I'm disappointed in you. I came here to destroy your holy place, your sacred house, and all you're thinking about is your camels. So, Abdul Muttalib answered in an amazing way. Before he left Mecca to come to Muhammas to meet Abraha, he gathered together himself and the other leaders of the different tribes in Mecca, all the dignitaries, the leaders. They went to the Kaaba. He held on to the door of the Kaaba, the ring. There's a ring on the door of the Kaaba. And he made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect this home. That there are people, an army coming to attack this, destroy this Kaaba. This is your house, your first house of worship. You're the Lord of this Kaaba, protect this Kaaba. They prayed, and then he left to go to Muhammas to meet Abraha. So he said, Abdul Muttalib, when Abraha is saying that I'm surprised at your request, he said, I'm only the master of my camels. That's why I'm asking for my camels. The house, the Kaaba, has its own Lord who will take care of it. I am not the Lord of the Kaaba. The Kaaba has its own Lord who will take care of it, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abraha said, no one and nothing can defend the Kaaba. I'm here to destroy it. Abraha said, go ahead and do what you want to do. And he left with his 200 camels. Abraha gave him back his camels. That's what he came for. He got that, he left. Went back. Abdul Muttalib told the people of Mecca before he left there that they should leave Mecca because this army is too powerful. They cannot defend Mecca. So leave and go hide in the mountain areas. And then he told the people of Mecca about his encounter with Abraha. Abraha is determined, he has a huge army, and he's come to destroy the Kaaba. And then they made a prayer to protect the Kaaba. Ibn Ishaq also narrated the lines of poetry that were recited by Abdul Muttalib. Our Lord, a creature protects his property, so protect your property. Let not their cross and their might ever overcome your might. If you're leaving them to destroy our house of worship, then you surely have something in mind. Abraha ordered his army now to leave Muhammas and to continue to Mecca, which is not too far away. The huge elephant now, Mahmoud, he is refusing to move. He's there in Muhammas and he's refusing to move. He's not going in. The soldiers are trying to get the elephant to move because the big elephant is not moving. All the other elephants are not moving as well. They're waiting for him because he's the leader. And this incident was, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned this in the hadith as well, that the elephant of Abraha did not move, did not obey their command. And this he mentioned about his camel, al-Kaswa. That's the name of the camel of the Prophet ﷺ. This is at Hudaybiyah. When they reached Hudaybiyah, that they were going to Mecca, al-Kaswa would not move. Stayed at Hudaybiyah. They stayed there. And the Prophet said, the same will that prevented the elephant Mahmoud, the elephant of Abraha, when they came to destroy the Kaaba, that same whale is preventing Kaswa from moving now. Because the Sahabas were saying that Kaswa is being stubborn. And the Prophet said, no, he's not stubborn. It's a she-camel. She's not stubborn. It's not in her nature to be stubborn. Just the will of Allah SWT stopped it. This is the Hudaybiyah. The Prophet is referring back to this incident that took place in the year of his birth. So then Abraha, when he's there and intent on destroying the Kaaba, then Allah SWT sent down a huge flock of birds, numerous number of birds, with small pebbles, but they were able to pelt it with such velocity, so fast, that it killed the soldiers, killed them. Abraha escaped, and some others escaped, but he was injured. And as his soldiers are taking him back to Yemen, to Sana'a, the city of Sana'a, then the parts of his body is starting to fall off from the injury. His fingers one by one, his toes, his legs, and by the time he reached Sana'a, his body was split, and he died there. He died there. But all of that journey back, and for the people to see all of that, was a sign from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who want to destroy the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what happens to them. So the army became like devoured leaves. In other words, they're destroyed in such a horrendous way. So I wanted to share this with you tonight, inshallah, the reflections on Surah Al-Fil. And we'll do this as we continue the study of Seerah, because as I said earlier, the Seerah and the Qur'an goes hand in hand. The life of the Prophet ﷺ, he is living this Qur'an and showing us. So Allah SWT is telling us many things in the Qur'an. A lot of it relates to the life of the Prophet ﷺ, and that's the Seerah, inshallah. Special dua, let's recite Fatiha together. ربنا تقبل منا ربنا بسر الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Shukran, until we meet again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. May Allah SWT bless you, may Allah SWT protect you and keep you safe. Ameen.
ما مد لخير الخلق يدا أحد إلا وبه سعيدا فلذاك مددت إليه يدي وبذلك